So I still don't know.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. How's it sound? I'll talk a little bit. I can hear myself. Okay, great. Thank you.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. We'd like to start on time, so if I could ask you to clear the aisles and find your seats, that would be really special. Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova. You could please take your seats, clear the aisles. We appreciate it. My name is Doris Scheiman, and we are really so happy to see all of you here and those of you at home. We're expecting pretty close to a full house, so if you could make your way where there's fewer single empty seats, that's very helpful. We wish, of course, that we could put these health concerns to rest. But there continues to be an uptick in the number of COVID cases and respiratory illnesses. If you're not feeling well, have a cough or sniffles or sneezing, we ask you to please mask up or step outside or in the village center till you can get yourself back in one piece. Everybody around you appreciates it. Please turn off your cell phones. I know you use them to check in your tickets, so if you could silence or turn them off, the people around you also would appreciate that. I feel like I'm talking to my children. There is ample space in the sanctuary. If any time you would be more comfortable in there, all services will be live streamed, and there are plenty of seats to spread out. If you have a young child, there are people in the Chava Center there that can watch them. If your young adults want to take a break, the youth lounge is also open. And this is important. Not that everything else wasn't. In case of emergency evacuation, you people who are talking are going to wonder what to do, and I'm going to tell you. Please note all the exits. There are 5, the 2 back doors. You can go through the kitchen. There's a door up here, and all the courtyard doors are open. So God forbid, in case of a quick evacuation, you can go through there. We have an EMT on a premise. If somebody in your group is having a medical emergency, come see me. I'm over there. Leslie Black and Arlene Maisel are also floating, and they're all here to help you. The very popular singer-songwriter Arik Einstein, of blessed memory, recorded a song called Ani ve'ata, Me and You. Everyone in Israel knows this song. And it goes in part like this. Ani ve'ata, me and you will change the world. Ani ve'ata. Then all will join us. Though it's been said before, lo nora, it doesn't matter. Ani ve'ata, me and you will change the world. Me and you will start from the beginning. It may be difficult, but lo nora, it doesn't matter. Ani ve'ata, me and you will change the world. Our service will begin shortly.
She was here with the grandchildren and everybody.
Shana Tova. And good afternoon, everybody. It is so wonderful to be here. To be here on this birthday of the world with all of you. Welcome to those of you who are here in our sanctuary. Welcome to those of you who are joining us virtually. We're so glad that you are all with us. What a blessing it is to come together in celebration of this new year, having arrived, having been changed by it. Here we are, ready to welcome 5784, and with it all its great possibilities. And so let us, before we begin, turn to our neighbors and greet one another. Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom. So I want to begin, now that we've all gotten acquainted with each other, I want to begin with a story. When I was in college, I had my most embarrassing moment. Imagine the scene with me. I am gathered together with 18,000 of my closest friends at Assembly Hall at Indiana University. I am standing at the top of the three-point line across from the Hoosiers bench when I am handed the basketball. You see, when I entered the stadium for the game, I placed my name in a raffle to win the latest Nokia colored screen flip phone. My name was, you can imagine my luck when my name is chosen, and I walk onto the court, and in a daze, I take the ball in my hand, and immediately, the crowd silence. And I feel the eyes of the sold-out crowd on my back. Now, I feel that I can make a three-point shot. I've done that a few times before. So quickly I take the ball and I take my very best shot. And up it goes. And I see the ball roll off my fingertips. And immediately it drifts and drifts and drifts further and further and further away from the basket. It falls to the ground without coming close to hitting the rim or the backboard. Immediately, a soft and slow chant begins. Air ball, air ball, air. So this was an embarrassing experience for sure. But what was I missing? What could I have done differently? What was I missing in that moment? Skill, of course, but also ritual. I didn't do what I had always done before shooting a basketball, the skills and the rituals that I had practiced and mastered at the 12 and under JCC Youth Basketball League. Bounce the ball 3 times, spin it backwards, pause, and shoot. In that high-stakes moment, I rushed, I forgot my ritual, and I completely humiliated myself. You see, we all have rituals that we perform. Religious or otherwise, many is a part of our daily lives. Having coffee at the same time every morning, that's a ritual. Taking a photo before the first day of school or a new job, that's a ritual. Saying a blessing or taking a deep breath before eating a meal, that's a ritual. Our lives are full of rituals, whether we are consciously aware of them or not. But we do not often stop to think about the impact and purpose they have on our lives. And certainly we couldn't live our lives in the same way without them. Rituals that ground us in space and time, allowing us to experience life's moments with greater meaning. Rituals like the ones we share on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. These days ground us in meaning and purpose. They deepen our relationship to ourselves, our tradition, our year cycle, and the community. We can't rush through these moments. You must be in them. So allow yourself to get lost in our liturgy. Meditate on a melody. We are here and you have chosen to be here. So let's not miss the mark or the baskets. Let us return. Let's begin. Let's open our prayer books, our machzorim, to page 110. Here in this place of prayer and song, hear the call that stirs the soul. All may enter, let none stand apart. All of us unique individuals, how beautiful and how good. We join together with Matovu on page 110. Page 120. In the mornings, we pray with gratitude for the ability to wake our souls. God asks us to start a new day with an acknowledgement that we are beautiful and whole, that we are perfect the way we are and a little broken too. And that's what Asher Yatzar is, a humble recognition of who we are as we strengthen ourselves in this world, and our daily commitment to naming this truth with deep gratitude and blessing. The words, I thank you for my life, body, and soul, help me to realize that I am beautiful and whole. I am perfect the way I am and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you.
I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I'm beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you.
We continue blessing the everyday miracles that have allowed us to show up here in this space together. Page 125. Please join me responsively. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all time and space. We call you Pokeach Ivrim, the opener of blind eyes.
Help us to see your world in a new light.
We call you Malbish Arumim, the dresser of those without clothing.
Help us to put on the garments of health and life.
We call you Matir Asurim, the freer of captives.
Help us to break free of the bonds that keep us locked within ourselves.
We call you Zokef Kefufim, the straightener of bent backs.
Help us to find the power to stand upright and proud.
We call you Hamechin Mitzade Gaver, the steadiness in our steps.
Help us to understand our journey ever more clearly.
We call you Hanoten Le'ayef Koach, the source of strength for the weary.
Help us to be strong and to be a source of strength for those we love.
We turn to 141 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Baruch on page 142. Please rise in body or in spirit.
The ark is closed, you may be seated. In just a moment, we're going to turn to page 148. Join together in V'Havienu, but before we do, and before we recite the Shema together, I want to take a moment to talk about Israel. On September 13th, 1993, 30 years ago from this past Wednesday, I was in the 4th grade, sitting on a carpet that hadn't been changed since the 70s. And there was what I remember to be a very large 25-inch box TV on a cart that had been wheeled into our classroom and tuned to some major network news channel. We all sat silently watching the events on the White House lawn, with Israeli and Palestinian flags blowing in the background. This was one of my first formative experiences with Israel, witnessing the handshake shared by President Clinton, Prime Minister Rabin, and Chairman Arafat after signing the Oslo Peace Accords. This memory is a cornerstone for me and for possibility and optimism. And we know peace has grown and failed many times throughout the years. And yet on this day of Rosh Hashanah, we call forth hope as an enduring principle in our connection with Israel. And this week we not only mark 30 years since the signing of the Oslo Accords, but we also mark 50 years since the Yom Kippur War, which is just another reminder of the fragility in the pursuit of peace. Yehuda Halevi once wrote, Libi b'mizrach ki va'ani ki b'sof ma'arav. My heart is in the east, but alas, I am in the west. I am a proud Zionist, and I love Israel. As we will recite shortly, as the V'ahavta says, with all my might and with all my soul. I love its vibrancy and its culture, its people and Jewish life. I love the pride I feel when I am there and the pride I have in its existence in this world. For me, this love is not fragile. Israel is one of the 5 core pillars of BJBE. How lucky most of us have been born at a time in history where Israel exists as a country. And I have watched with great concern over the last year about the fate of Israel's democracy and character of its Jewish identity. I am alarmed by the freezing of government funds to reform and conservative institutions while increasing funds to the Haredi communities. I'm saddened when civil rights and liberties are questioned or taken away. And most recently, the pursuit by the current government coalition to diminish the independence of the Supreme Court, a required pillar of democratic society, to exercise judicial review over government decisions and appointments, has caused great pain and rupture in Israeli society and throughout the Jewish world. This moment in Israel is unprecedented. For 37 straight weeks, protests have been unparalleled in the amount of civic engagement, and we stand with them alongside every reform institution in Israel and America. This moment is 75 years in the making. And it's not directly a political crisis, but rather a struggle for the essential vision, character, and identity of what Israel can be for itself, for the Jewish people, and for citizens of the world as a Jewish and democratic state. After 75 years, we are still very much in the project and amidst the project of Theodore Herzl's hope and dream. Israel is imperfect. We are witness to that. But we must continue to have a deep sense of longing and engagement for an ideal Israel, one with hope and peace, democracy and civil rights for all its inhabitants and neighbors. The Israel that is harmonious, the Israel that we yearn for in our tefillot, in our prayers. It is with this love that we stand up for our values. It is with this love of Israel that we must find ways to ever deepen our communal commitment to the land and people of Israel. And we will do this through more learning and travel and action. And I'm committed to that essential and enduring value in our BJBE community and in our tradition. So let us gather our tzitzit, reminders of the values that connect us to leading us to live lives well lived, guided by our expansive and inclusive and just tradition. When the people of Israel come together from the 4 corners of the earth, deepening our commitment to tradition and peoplehood with light and purpose, we make wholeness possible. And so we join in these words of Ahavienu on page 148, with the melody of our people, with Hatikvah, with hope for gathering together and building a future of shalom.
Me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tolicheinu komiyut le'artzeinu ki el poel shutata uvanu b'charta mikolam v'lashon v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet lehodot lecha u'liachecha be'ahava baruch atah Adonai abocher be'amo Yisrael me'ahava.
We join together with Shema on page 150.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem,
for Mi Chamocha, our song of liberation, on page 165. They went forth from Egypt on a single night, but next time the miracle will be different. Once 2 sages were walking very early in the valley, and they saw the light of a morning star. Said one to the other, "This is how the redemption will be. The dawn breaks with a single ray of light, and bit by bit the sky is illuminated until morning comes and the darkness is gone. So the redemption will occur little by little, growing steadily and gradually until the world is full of light."
Do not wait for a miracle or the sudden transformation of the world. Bring the day closer step by step with every act of courage, of kindness, of healing and repair. Do not be discouraged by the darkness. Lift up every spark you can and watch the horizon. For the coming of dawn, look closely. It has already begun. Page 164.
שבחוג גאולים לשמך שפת היום יעוד כולם הודו להם ליהו ואמרו
Prayer is a step on which we rise from the self we are to the self we wish to be. Prayer affirms the hope that no reality can crush, the aspiration that can never acknowledge defeat. We rise for the tefillah on page 166.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agit hilatecha 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 כל התרב להושיע מוריד הטל.
Is closed, you may be seated.
We turn to page 174. And we are about to offer the words of the well-known piyut, the liturgical poem, the Unatan HaTokef. The piyut is framed by two statements of belief. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun uv'yom Som Kippur yechatemun. On Rosh Hashanah it will be inscribed, and on Yom Kippur it will be sealed, and utshuva, utefila, utzdaka, ma'avirin et roa gezerah. Repentance, prayer, and tzedakah, justice, can avert the severity of the decree. No prayer focuses on the awesome nature of these high holy days more intensely than these Unatan HaTokef poem. It paints a magnificent and challenging metaphor of God as judge, who examines our deeds and determines our destiny, watching us pass before God one by one. And so as we examine our behaviors and actions in this world, as we hold the deeply intense liturgy we are about to share, I find great comfort in the words of Rabbi Aaron Pankin of blessed memory, who taught, our actions help us live in such a way that when we suffer life's darkest depredations, we will always have ways of coping with them. Our actions may not change the ultimate outcome one iota, but they alter our attitude, bolster our ability to withstand challenges, help us handle unavoidable misfortunes better, and see life's value amid chaos and dismay. In the chaos and dismay, in the unknown, let us pray with what we have, that our actions of repentance, prayer, and tzedakah will guide us to a life well lived and inscribed for good.
ותפתח את ספר
Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other.
Shofar gadol yitaka v'kol demayaka yishama.
So a great shofar will cry Tkiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, "Behold the day of judgment. For they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff. You count and consider every life. You set bounds. You decide destiny. You inscribe judgments."
The Rosh Hashanah. ומשכילה בראש השנה יכתבו וביום צום כיפור וביום צום כיפור יכתבו וביום צום כיפור וביום צום כיפור מי אשקיט ומי טורף, מי שלב ומי גסר, מי עני ומי עשיר, מי יושפל ומי ירום. בראש השנה
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? Utshuva, utfila, utzdaka, ma'avirin et roa hagazera. But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree.
As you're able, please rise for the Kedusha, page 184.
לקדש את שמך בעולם. לקדש את שמך בעולם. כשם שמקדישים אותו, כשם שמקדישים אותו, בשמי
seated. Continue in the middle of page 217. Let the pursuit of peace and justice be our highest good, and may all people make peace their responsibility. Let Torah be a light that guides our lives towards empathy and understanding, toward generosity of heart. Let peace be our passion, chief among our prayers, every season of the year, every hour of the day.
בספר החיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניגעתי לפניך
We continue independently in personal prayer, either with the words on the page, perhaps beginning on page 186, or our meditations upon our hearts. We'll take a few moments of personal prayer and reflection.
Be holy, hear the whisper, a quiet, gentle voice. Be holy, hear the whisper that helps us make the choice to be like God. To be like God. Be holy, hear the whisper, present every day. Be holy, hear the whisper, it teaches us the way to be like God. To be like God. Our God. reminding us we need to be like God, to be like God. Be holy, hear the whisper, the warmth of love's embrace. Be holy, hear the whisper, giving us the grace to be like God, to be like God. Akadosh, Baruch Hu. Akadosh, Baruch Hu. Be holy, hear the whisper. Be holy, hear the whisper. Be holy, hear the whisper.
Turn to page 223. As we're able, we rise as the ark is opened for Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Va'al Ulaleinu V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever V'cherev V'ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kotzar Mastin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Ve'anenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Aseh Imanu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed. Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu. Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed. Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim.
I'd like to call forward to help carry our Torahs out for our Hakafa, the Brodson family, Rick Silverman and Daniel Goldstein, up to the Bima to join with us as we turn on to page 228. Adonai, Adonai, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
Shema, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'nora Shema. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'nora Shema. Lecha Adonai hagidula, hagidula, hatiferet, והנצח וההוד, כבוד בשמיים ובארץ, כבוד בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, ימין העשה לכל ראש. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה והעבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה והעבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו ונשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו ונשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו ונשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו ונשתחוו להר קודשו.
Our Torah reading, we've got to call readers up.
For the honor of reading Torah this morning, I'd like to call to the Bema Helene Davitz, Oramai Schwartz, Justin Weiland, Emmeline Carroll, Jordan Dakoff, and Josh Dakoff.
Our Torah reading today begins, "It came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham." The story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, is understood to be a test of Abraham's faith in and loyalty to God. And the rabbis teach that after these things refers to 9 other tests that God imposed upon Abraham. The sacrifice of Isaac is Abraham's last test. Abraham seems willing to take it on, and as he wields the knife to kill his son, an angel of God immediately materializes and tells him to stop. A ram appears in a nearby thicket, and Abraham sacrifices it instead. With Isaac's survival, the family line continues. The generations that follow become the people of Israel. But Isaac and Abraham never speak again. Neither do Abraham and God. So did Abraham pass the test? Figuring out if he passed the test means understanding what the test was evaluating in the first place. When the angel intervenes, it says, "For now I know that you fear God. You have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." The conjunction between these two clauses hinges on a vav, a conjunction that often means and, but could also mean because or but. Bible scholar Tikva Freimarkensky explains that depending on how we translate this vav, the sentence could read, "Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld your son from me," or, "I know that you fear God, but now you have not withheld your son from me." Freimarkensky points out that the ambiguity of this vav leads to 2 different understandings of the angel's call. She writes, either binding Isaac for sacrifice is a mark of Abraham's special virtue and fidelity, or binding Isaac was a failure of Abraham, who was after all only human and who missed his opportunity to rise in defense of justice. Maybe God was testing Abraham's submission, or maybe it was a test of Abraham's willingness to wrestle. Abraham may have passed a test of piety, but he failed a test of fatherhood. Our lives are full of tests and dilemmas that, like the Akedah, often put multiple priorities in tension. A busy time at work may test our skills and efficiency, but it also tests our capacity to find balance and spend time with family. Encountering suffering in the world pushes us to appreciate what we have, or it could charge us to alleviate it. How we spend our money or schedule our days or what app we open up when we scroll on our phone, all of these choices ultimately have us prioritizing one value over another. And like the Akedah, in these dilemmas, there often isn't a clear right answer. By some standards, Abraham passed his test with flying colors. By others, he failed. What's important is for us to figure out what our standard is. How we discern what's being tested becomes a way for us to clarify our own values. My hope for us in this upcoming year is that even amidst all the pressures and tests of our lives, we can take time to figure out what matters to us, listen to the voices, divine and personal and otherwise, that guide us, and maybe live by those values and live our lives with intention.
In the honor of our Aliyah this morning, I'd like to call forward new members in our community. So if you have joined our BJB community, let's say, how about the last 4 years? Let's do 5, Cantor says. If you've joined our community in the last 5 years, please come and join us on the Bima for an Aliyah. And if you think we don't know who you are, actually no. So there we go. Come on forward. We will turn in our prayer books for our reading this morning on page 240. Nice.
Come on and gather close.
Come close. All right, Rabbi, your mic on.
1, 2, 3.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Amen. Vayehi achar hadavarim ha'eleh v'ha Elohim nisa et Avraham. Vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et bincha et yechicha asher ahavta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha al eretz hamoria v'halehu sham le'olah al achad heharim asher omar elecha vayashkem Avraham baboker vayachavosh et chamaro vayikach et shnei ne'arav ito va'et Yitzchak beno vayevaka atzei olah vayakom vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim.
Bayom hashlishi, vayisa Abraham et enav, vayer et hamakom merahok, vayomer Abraham el na'arav. Shvu lahem po im hahamor, va'ani va'ana'ar, nelha ad ko. Vanishtakave, vanishuva alehem. Vayikak Avraham et aseh ha'olam. Vayasem al Yitzchak beno, vayikak v'ado et ha'esh va'et hama'achelet, vayelhu shnehem yakdav.
Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, Vayomer aviv, Vayomer hineni beni, Vayomer hine ha'esh v'ha'etzim, Vayaseh le'olah, Vayomer Avraham Elohim, Yiralo haseh le'olah beni, vayelchu shnehem yachdav, vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim, vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach, vaya'aroch et ha'etzim, vaya'akod et Yitzchak beno, vayasem oto al hamizbeach mima'al ha'etzim, וישלח אברהם את ידו ויקח את המאכלת לשחוט את בנו. ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים ויאמר אברהם אברהם ויאמר הנני ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער ואל תעש לו מאומה כי אתה ידעתי כי ירא אלוהים אתה ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך ממני וישא אברהם את עיניו וירא והנה איל אחר נאחז בצבא בקרניו וילך אברהם ויקח את האיל ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני ירא אשר יאמר היום בהר אדוני ירא. ויקרא מלאך אדוני אל אברהם שנית מן השמיים ויאמר בי נשבעתי נאום אדוני כי יען אשר עשית את הדבר הזה ולא הסחת את בנך את יחידך כי ברך אברכך והרבה הרבה את זרעך ככוכבי השמיים וכחול אשר על שפת הים וירש זרעך את שאר אויביו.
והתברך וזרעך כל גויי הארץ עקב אשר שמעת בקולי וישוב אברהם אל נעריו ויקומו וילכו יחדיו אל באר שבע וישב אברהם בבאר שבע.
Asher koach, everyone. Amen. Misha Berach Avotenu Vimotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarif Karachel Valeah. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and guide these new members of our congregation. May you feel the embrace of our community as you begin to call BJBE your sacred home. May this makom, this place, be filled with joy and love and an ever-present yearning for goodness and for shalom. May you be sustained by the comfort and care, learning and action that are part of the fabric of who we are. May you inspire us towards new spiritual heights, and may you bring us and yourselves deeper meaning through the gifts of the soul of your soul that you share. And may you always know that your voice and story matter. May this community open you towards a life in pursuit of wholeness, and may we be privileged to share in that journey with you. In this new year, may you be blessed with health, joy, and blessing, and God's most precious gift of wholeness, of completeness, of shalom. And together we say, Amen. Asher koach. As you're able, please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני
I'd like to call forward our shofar sounders, Dale Primer and Larry Weiner, up to our bima. On Rosh Hashanah, we are beckoned by the call of the shofar. How will the shofar wake us up this year? What will it wake us up to? And what will that awareness call us towards? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel teaches that something is asked of every human being. Every human has moments of mystery waiting for them, waiting to call them, to demand something of them. Meaning is found in responding to that demand. Meaning is found in sensing that call. And perhaps in this, we can find our meaning and our call this year. We turn to page 202 as we rise once again as the ark is open for the great Alinu.
Dwell on each sound of the shofar, contemplate its meaning. Tekiah, one whole note. Shvarim trua, 3 broken notes, 9 staccato notes. Tekiah, one whole note. My return to the right path has the power to make me whole again. Tekiah, once I was whole. Shvarim trua, in the wear and tear of living I became broken and shattered. Tekiah, my teshuvah has the power to make me whole again.
Page 206.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kdeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishma kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shecheanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Tekiah, Shvarim truah. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim. Tekiah, Tekiah, truah. Tekiah. You may be seated.
May
page 267. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, Hineni, here I am. Our memory fades, but you will remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai zocher habrit. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us. Please rise.
Tekiah, Shvarim Trua. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim. Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah. Tekiah. May be seated.
As you're able, please rise. Page 284, and let's recite these calls together. Tekiah, Shvarim Truah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Truah. Tekiah Gedolah. I'm prepared this year. The sun rises one morning, and two people awake, each in a different area of the same city, strangers to one another. But both are readying themselves for the day's High Holy Day service. The first, a spiritual leader. A spiritual leader in the community prepares to support others in experiencing the rituals of the holiday, and is filled with joy and anticipation of the long and meaningful days ahead. The other, a relatively new member, is getting ready to go to temple for the very first time, and is filled with anticipation of what the day's experience will be. The high holidays feel weighty this year to the new member who has something they've been waiting to say to God. And this day, one of the holiest of the entire year, feels like the best chance to share a prayer that has so far gone unanswered. Now, each of these two individuals arrives at the temple early. The leader is greeted warmly by familiar faces, those who return year after year, and the service begins. The temple is filled with the buzz and the energy of the joyous community as family members and friends find each other and participate in the service without hesitation. But despite arriving promptly and having anticipated this day for weeks, the new member holds back, not yet comfortable in this new place, working on finding the courage to join in and speak aloud the prayer that has been waiting to be shared. The service leader notices this new attendee and approaches them during a quiet moment between the multiple services of the day. Welcome. Tell me your story. Walk with me to the next service I'm about to start. We can get to know each other a bit. And here, in a moment of surprising bravery, the new member shares what has been waiting to be said, in a voice that's more clear than expected, being the first words spoken that day. The words, the paragraphs that have been floating around inside this new member's head, waiting to be shared, come out in a sudden cascade, like a waterfall that has been blocked until this moment. And somehow, as the service leader listens to this story, both individuals notice a spark of something lighting up the space between them. A feeling that something sacred is being shared, and for a moment, they both seem to feel God's presence in the temple around them. The exchange leaves both of them in tears, and as they each join in the next service, other community members around them wonder, what has shifted in this space? What words were spoken? What was so meaningful about this encounter? This story from the Talmud takes place over 2,000 years ago, when the high holidays were observed at the ancient temple in Jerusalem. Israelites would embark on a pilgrimage to make an offering to God, and the ritual steps of these offerings were facilitated by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Now, we don't really know what was said or what words, if any, might have been exchanged between those making the offering and the Kohen Gadol. Yet in this Talmudic story, we learn of one encounter when a conversation takes place between the two at the entrance to the temple, just before the high priest enters the Holy of Holies. And our sages tell us that whatever is shared leaves both of them crying. And the story, it leaves me with so many questions. What was the nature of their conversation? Were these tears filled with joy and gladness, or fear and sadness? Why doesn't the Talmud share what was spoken? Why is it so important that immediately from this conversation, God's presence is felt? As Rabbi Goldstein reminded us last night, we humans are chemically wired to connect. Our biology links us, you see, opens us and expands our capacity to share life together. When we are trusted or shown kindness in action or in response to a story shared or heard, oxytocin and dopamine are released, which deepens our ability to be together in meaningful ways. Of course, it does this by enhancing our sense of empathy. and our ability to experience others' emotions. When I tell a personal story, like the one I opened our service with, whether over coffee, with a friend, or within a sermon, I make myself vulnerable. And I offer a point of connection with others who may feel more encouraged to share some of their own stories. Perhaps you can recall a story from your own life's narrative that, when shared, served as a bonding moment with a stranger, started a new friendship, or deepened an existing relationship. So often, sharing a story is an entry point, an opening to a conversation. Because when we share, we bring our narrative into the world, one that has the potential to connect and resonate deeply, as well as offer understanding and a practice for cultivating compassion. The biggest takeaway for me in sharing stories about myself has been that vulnerability creates space for both self-reflection as well as true connection. Parker Palmer, an author and teacher of education, leadership, and spirituality, writes in his book, Let My Life Speak, "Before you tell your life what you meant to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent." So what happens when we give voice to our stories, our real, true, authentic stories, ones that help us find our truth? A year ago, on Rosh Hashanah, I stood on this bima and asked you to say Hineni, to say, "Here I am," ready to engage in life in our sacred community. And on Yom Kippur, I asked you to share your name, and you have done so in so many ways. So this morning, on this Rosh Hashanah, I want to explore why we have a moral and spiritual need and social imperative to engage with our own voices and our own authentic stories and discover ways to share them. It is through our sharing our story with others that we learn who we really are. When we share our stories, we, in that moment, determine what we highlight and what we lift up. In this sharing, through the vulnerability of opening up, we give voice to the truths within. And we build trust with others as we engage in mutual sharing and listening. And not only do we deepen connections with others, but also ourselves, because our stories allow us to make sense of the world and better understand who we are and how we live within it. We know the world needs a whole lot more of this. It's what this community is all about, showing up for each other and building relationships through the stories we share. Through these connections and openings for relationship, we also get to know God. And in these moments between the narratives and connections of two people, that we can find the space where God dwells. You see, I believe that the lessons, adventures, and narratives of our lives are our own personal Torah. And when we share them, we engage with a certain kind of learning. Our tradition teaches us that God dwells between two people engaged in the study of Torah. Regardless of our theological belief, then, when we share stories, we connect with others and have the capacity to bring forth a divine presence into this world. And we do this by cultivating a vulnerability and sharing. Vulnerability, of course, brings us closer. It breaks down barriers. It allows us to navigate the pathways towards our central truths. A conversation with vulnerability might even allow us to ask ourselves if the path we are on is ours or that of the society in which we live. As a rabbi, I have the privilege to be a holder of stories. Stories that inspire, stories full of pain, of trauma and grief, of hopes and dreams, and stories of the most magnificent joys in life. And I believe the synagogue is an extraordinary convener of our stories. What if in the year to come, we as a community committed to truly sharing our story with each other? What if when we walk into this space and we say, "How are you?" we actually take the moment to share what is going on in our lives? What if we see each person in our community as someone who has the capacity to listen, to know, and to lift up? Or what if when we learn something in a class, are inspired by a B'nai Mitzvah teaching, or hear a story while packing lunches for Project Nourish, we see those moments as a deepening connection and chance to engage, ask questions, or have a thoughtful dialogue? Certainly listening to others' stories can be as transformative as sharing our own. 300 years ago, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, the first modern reforming revolution of our tradition, attempted to engage in a radical experiment in Jewish connectivity. As a storyteller, he sought to convey the wisdom of our tradition in the tales and lives of people just like you and me. He saw the value in the experience of the people, not just the rabbis of old. He realized that when we share our stories, we build connections and encourage our sacred purpose by drawing near to something greater than ourselves. In his book, Hasidic Tales, Rabbi Rami Shapiro writes that the Baal Shem Tov taught that every word you overhear, no matter how seemingly inconsequential, is in fact spoken for your ears alone. Every moment, life presents you with another opportunity to look within yourself and see where you can improve the quality of your thought, word, and deed. Do not imagine that the world revolves around you. It doesn't. But know that whatever is in the world is in you as well. Let reality be your Rebbe, your teacher. Our stories, the truths within them, can teach us, guide us, and others as well. And yet, being vulnerable and sharing our unique stories can be uncomfortable and sometimes even scary. It can be challenging to find the courage to share, and it can be difficult to speak hard truths. Sometimes it's anxiety-provoking to look within ourselves and notice thoughts or feelings that we may not expect and to articulate them aloud. As we consider how we might step forward and share, we have a communal obligation and social imperative to create spaces for sharing, where our words and stories are received as our truth and not used against us. Authenticity comes from acknowledging, like Palmer does, that my life is not only about my strengths and virtues, it is also about my liabilities and my limits, my trespasses and my shadow. An inevitable, though often ignored, dimension of the quest of wholeness is that we must embrace what we dislike or find shameful about ourselves, as well as what we are confident and proud of. And I include myself in this imperative. I too am human, a spouse, a dad, trying to manage and juggle the complexities of living every day. And when I embrace vulnerability in my interactions, I too seek authentic connection. In 5784, BJBE is going to engage in lifting up the multifaceted, diverse, unique stories of our community and create a spiritual practice of listening to others. We will give voice to our narratives, break down barriers, and create accessible and compelling spaces to share. Whether it be guest speakers on the Bima on Shabbat using film or books to discuss our own lives, exploring all the languages in our newly updated creative art studio, a new intergenerational story corps, or just making the time to talk and listen to one another as we spend time in the village center. This is not bound to age. We share stories in the Chava Center and the JLC and Symposium and everywhere in between. We each have stories to tell and things to learn from one another in the way in which we show up and listen. This is how we connect and build community. For we are a storytelling people. When we share our stories, each of our unique voices joins to create a woven tapestry, like a talit that when spread over us is a source of comfort and strength. Imagine if we practice this narrative sharing as a way to deepen compassion and understanding. How might this practice help us outside these walls as we counter civil discourse and polarization around us? How then might these encounters change through the practice that we have cultivated? How might sharing our story be part of the building blocks to build a world of wholeness? BJBE is a place that wants to know what makes you, you. What are the parts of yourself that seek connections with others? What stories will you tell from your own journey? And what parts of those stories will you focus on? How will you share? How will your story invoke tears of connection and bring forth God's presence in our world? This is our work, and I hope that you will join me. Stories remind us that we are not alone in this world. And we, just like those from 2,000 years ago, never quite know how our words and stories will touch the lives of others. These stories give voice to the sacred connection we know will help shape the world for the better. May 5784 be a year of sharing and listening, one joining with another and another and another, as all of us lift up the sacred and holy through the connections we make and the stories we share. Shana Tova.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too, the sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. So it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. If you are remembering someone today, if you are in a period of mourning or observing a yard site, I'll invite you to rise and share their name aloud with us. We recall those from our family synagogue community who died in the past week: Bob Romanoff, Sharon Sachs, and Herbert Goldstein. And in Shloshim, 30 Days of Mourning, Fern Scher, Wendy Blum, Marilyn Schwartz, and Eleanor Weiner. We rise in memory and in comfort, page 292 for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'vyomechon u'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei dekudsha brichu. Leila mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'rumav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. And if there was anyone I missed over here who'd like to share a name.
May their memories be a blessing. Together we say amen. You may be seated. I'd like to call forward Steve Harfield, a member of our executive board, to offer announcements this morning.
I'm Steve Hartfield, and I'm proud to serve as Vice President of our congregation. I'd like to thank our clergy, our Torah readers, our choir director, Stephen Edwards, our pianist, Margot Schwartz-Newton, Andy Denon, Tracy and Friend, for their musical enhancement, and our wonderful choir for our beautiful service this morning, and our drummer, Navi. Also want to thank our shofar sounders, Dale Primer and Larry Weiner. And thank you to Mike Kanapka of Thunder Tone Audio and crew on sound. HMS Media's Joe Lukowski and staff for helping create our live stream service live stream service, and to our dedicated BJBE staff and maintenance team for today. The service for families with young children is at 3 p.m. this afternoon and is open to the public. Tashlik is at 4 p.m. in Keller Park in Deerfield. We also invite you to join us for second day Rosh Hashanah services tomorrow at 9:30 in the sanctuary. Next weekend we'll gather for Yom Kippur services. Please make sure your ticket orders are up to date. If you no longer will need a ticket, please call the BJBE office. Handicap and special needs parking is available in the BJBE lot. Parking is once again available at Rochelle Zell High School and the Deerfield Business Center. Please remember to drop off your non-perishable kosher food and toiletry donations for the ARC food drive directly in the pod located at the southeast corner of the BJBE parking lot. If you borrow headsets or prayer books this afternoon, please return them to the check-in desk or ushers as you leave. Please have patience when exiting the Sacred Hall. If you're parked in the back of the building or on the side of the Deerfield Business Center, you may prefer to use the west exit. Security personnel will be directing traffic flow as you exit. For safety and efficiency, please follow their directions. Rabbi Sherman will be leading a multi-generational family trip to Israel next year, March 21st through the 24th, 2024. This is an extraordinary way you can deep connection with the land of Israel and create lasting bonds with your BJBE community. Lashana Tova, wishing you and your families a healthy, happy, and sweet 5784.
Thank you, Steve. Shana Tova. Let's turn to page 294. Life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a gift, accept it. Life is an adventure, dare it. Life is a sorrow, overcome it. Life is a tragedy, face it. Life is a duty, perform it. Life is a mystery, unfold it. Life is a song, sing it. Life is an opportunity, take it. Life is a journey, complete it. Life is a promise, fulfill it. Life is a beauty, praise it. Life is a struggle, fight it. Life is a goal, achieve it. Life is a puzzle, solve it. May the year 5784 be a year of blessing and goodness, and may we all feel a renewed sense of wholeness in sharing our story and being a part of this sacred community. This is the day, Hayom. Let it begin. Please rise. Shana Tova, to come be a sweet and healthy new year. Shana Tova.